doing? I'm the King's Kid, and welcome to When Nice Guys Are Telling You. The topic of discussion is, are you a Ruth, and do you really want a Boaz? So, now this is just my interpretation. Some of it may apply to you, some of it may not. Hey, take it what you want. If a little bit blesses you, awesome. If a whole thing blesses you, even better. So, let's get started. First subject is, who was Boaz? Boaz was an entrepreneur. He employed both men and women. He's an older gentleman. He's honorable, and the Bible says he was a man of standing. He was also well known and highly respected in his community. He was not looking for a wife. He actually didn't consider himself, from what I see, worthy of a woman, especially a younger woman. And at this point in his life, Boaz doesn't appear to have been chosen by any women. He wouldn't. I don't guess he was really attractive, you know what I mean, or really, he wasn't like the most attractive guy probably in his community. It seems like other women would go after the younger guys or other guys in his age group. So anybody his age was already probably taken. He was just there and he was just doing his thing. He worked his land, employed people, press on. Part of the reason why I think he might have been older is because he would refer to Ruth as my daughter. Okay. He said at one point in time, he said, hey, you have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor. So that kind of says something about Naomi in a way, because, not Naomi, Ruth. Ruth does not, her biggest thing, and it might have been just because of her situation, was she was there to take care of Naomi. She wanted to be wherever Naomi was, and she wanted to just make sure she was good. Before she even worried about herself, she was looking after Naomi. Now, one of the things that Boaz recognized about Ruth was her faithfulness to Naomi. She also had a noble character, and she was a foreigner in her land. She was not even the same race as the Jewish people. And so by the time she even got to town, Ruth already had a good reputation with the people because of what she was doing with Naomi. She left her own land to be with Naomi. And Boaz recognized the faithfulness of Ruth to Naomi. He also recognized Ruth's sacrifice and the sacrifice to help and to love Naomi. And based on that, Boaz actually responded in a way that I think, a good man would normally respond. And he basically told the men, don't mess with her. Leave her alone. Let her go into the field and pick food, to take care of her and Naomi. And he also asked her, he said, you know what? You're welcome to stay in my field and do what you need to do. And that way she didn't have to go off to a bunch of other different places. So he even offered her a element of stability, even though he was not responsible for her. But because he's a king, a guardian redeemer, or kinsman redeemer, he actually almost had like a twofold reason for actually trying to help her out. One is because she was formerly married to somebody, one of his kinfolks, and the other side was she was also still staying with the family to help take care of one of his formerly kin. So he actually granted her permission to get water and food while she worked. So that was an increase. He removed the burden of survival provision from Ruth, and it actually gave her peace. So an element to Boaz's character, or a Boaz, is they're going to give you an element of peace in doing certain things. He actually made her life easier, and Ruth actually appreciated it, which is another important thing. She actually appreciated what she had, and she respected him, and she showed him respect. He didn't stop her from working, and he made it easier for her. He also, at a point in time, he protected her reputation. And this is basically when she had came to see him. He wanted to make sure that she wasn't viewed in a negative way, but also he didn't want to cause any issues with the person who was the closest relative of Naomi, because that could have caused issues too. You don't want to be seen in a bad situation with another guy. You know what I'm saying? If one guy could be your potential husband or boyfriend or whatever, and another guy sees it, that ain't good. He probably gonna step off and roll out. So he wanted to protect that, and also make sure there was no other misunderstanding with the other guy. Boaz, he was a man of his word, and he also kept his promises. Boaz was predictable. Naomi actually told Ruth what Boaz was going to do after she told Ruth what to do. And a lot of people may consider predictability boring, but if you want a good man, he's going to be predictable, and you actually want that. The unpredictable guys are the ones that seem like women want these days sometimes. The bad boy. Yeah, it may give you an element of edge, but after a while, it seems like a lot of women stop really liking that. It's not as cool as it was when it first started. You know what I mean? But if you play around a lot of times like that, you become less appetizing, so to speak, bad word, to guys who are the good guys. They don't want anybody. If you're gonna be a faithful person, you're gonna be a faithful person. But your reputation has to precede you, like with Ruth. That's really important, and it should be important going both ways. I figure if you like going to the buffet, you're gonna like eating whatever you want to eat. But if you go to a restaurant that only offers one thing, you're probably gonna have a hard time eating there. You may eat there for a little bit, but you may not stay long if you're just used to having a whole bunch of variety. So just keep that in mind. My opinion, take it if you want. So in my opinion, who is Boaz? He was the nice guy at that time. He was a nice guy. Ruth. Who is Ruth? Ruth, she was a widow. She was married young enough to be able to have a second husband. Ruth's life, along with Naomi's, was interrupted. Okay. Naomi, to me, was a more modern version of Job. If you remember the story of Job lost his family, he lost his kids, he lost his wealth, and I'm talking about in a short period of time. And Naomi's kind of really seems to be along the same lines as Job, but in a female version of Job is what I'll say. Ruth also, she left her family to be with Naomi, and that is a really interesting situation. I'll just say this: Naomi was a woman of God, and Naomi was such a good mother-in-law that Ruth didn't even want to go back to her own family because of how Naomi's character. That's deep. That says a whole lot about Naomi. A lot. You know? A lot. Let's see here. So in this case, because she was willing to leave her mom, her family, it might be within your best interest sometime. You may have to get away from negative people to be around more positive people, for God to be able to bless you. You know, not saying that you got to totally disregard your family, but you may have to get yourself out of this situation. What's even more interesting is about this situation was that Naomi was so heartbroken in this situation because she lost her husband, she lost both her sons, and she had no grandkids whatsoever. So at this point, she felt like God was really against her. And even in her just straight depression, beat down state, Ruth was still like, hey, I still want to be around you. You know what I mean? That's something else. But I don't hear too many people talking about Naomi. But Naomi was a very awesome woman in her own right. You know, one day I might actually have to say something about her or do a more in-depth study. But I think she's pretty cool. And Ruth still followed her. Now, Ruth followed her, and she said, "I'll follow you. I will serve. I will go be part of your people. Your God will be my God." She was rolling out, and even better, basically, God followed Ruth and Naomi, and He took care of them. Even in their greatest time of grief, they actually, was able to see and experience God's faithfulness to them. So if you're going through a bad time, God's going to take care of you if you're going to trust Him. It may seem horrible, but God is still with you during that particular time frame. So no matter what it is. And one thing I'd also like to say is I think Ruth was a blessing to Naomi. And also Naomi was a blessing to Ruth. And I think it's important to not undervalue the people that God attaches you to. Because if you really look at the story, Naomi and Ruth, they actually, for them being not kin to each other, when they came together, they needed each other in this situation. They actually needed each other. Ruth was able to go out and work. Naomi had the notoriety. They knew Naomi. But Ruth had to be attached to Naomi for the whole situation to even work. So it's a lot in that. I haven't thought about it as much as I need to, but there's a lot of deepness in that. There's certain relationships that are symbiotic that you need, but you got to be aware of it enough to not throw it away. Because at one point in time, Naomi was like, "Hey, I ain't got nothing left to give you, and I think you should just leave." In fact, her other daughter-in-law, Oprah, she rolled out. She didn't want to, but she rolled out. And Naomi was trying to get Ruth to go as well, because she wanted to go out, get another husband and enjoy her life. But Ruth just wouldn't go. And that was, it's important to know there are some people, even in your worst time, you don't want to just push away people. Sometimes, even in your worst time, if you got somebody who's willing to stay with you, willing to stick it out with you, you need to let them do it. Especially if they're a good, godly person, or at least a good-hearted person. Let's see. Naomi, at first Naomi was just bad. She's like, my life is over with. God don't like me. And she just considered herself just totally worthless. You know what I mean? She didn't really even regard Ruth, but I think she figured that she couldn't get rid of Ruth because Ruth was like, "I love you. I ain't letting you go." You know. And but there was a time that Ruth went from not Ruth, but Naomi went from disregarding her, not in a bad way, but she just felt so alone because of what she had been through, losing her husband and losing her sons, you know. But at one point in time, she came back. She said she actually called Ruth her daughter again. So I thought that was kind of cool in the story, you know. But she went from saying, "I'm by myself," to "You my daughter." You know, she took responsibility for her. And I thought that was kind of cool. You see that transition in the story. Let's see here. But Naomi regarded her after a while as her kin, her daughter, even though she was her daughter-in-law. Really, not anymore because her son had died, but she still loved her as a daughter. Ruth had the approval and the testimony of Naomi, who was not her blood relative or countryman. Ruth's mother-in-law loved her, which says a lot about her character, especially nowadays. How many times you have a mother-in-law that actually loves her daughter-in-law? I don't know for sure, but sometimes you hear just bad things. You know, you see movies and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool. And she was also willing to learn from Naomi, which I thought was interesting. One of the things she wanted to do was she wanted to teach Ruth. Naomi wanted to teach Ruth how to actually respect a man and who to choose. Ruth didn't follow the women her own age. So she didn't have a sister-in-law that was married to Naomi's other son. And even at Naomi's beckoning, she didn't just go off and follow Orpah, you know what I mean? She decided to follow the woman that she respected and that she loved, you know. So she didn't just follow the crowd. And she did respect the life and the wisdom of an older woman. She was basically a mentor to her. But if you think about it, can you imagine the level of trust that Ruth had to have for Naomi in this situation? To leave her family. She totally left her family. She didn't even say goodbye to her family. She's like, "Deuces, I'm out. I ain't even got to go see y'all, let you know I'm gone." You know what I mean? But she decided to leave her family and follow a godly woman to a land where she had no relatives, no influence, no protection, and she had no means of making money at this time. She left everything, you know what I'm saying, for nothing. Well, she left everything to go into a situation that she didn't really even know how it was going to work out. And so that just shows God may take you out your comfort zone to actually be able to bless you. Ruth tied herself to Naomi and was considered part of the family. In fact, in chapter 3, Naomi called Ruth her daughter. This was that transition. And then she actually, from that transition, she said, "I'm going to help you find a husband." I also want to say that at this point in time, Ruth didn't have any kids. And it probably wasn't by choice. I think God probably just said, "Nope, you ain't have no kids right now," because God knows what's going to happen before it happens. So if you don't have something happening in your timing, God probably knows something's going to happen. And in this case, the husband died. Okay? So if you're not getting what you want when you want it, you might want to take a step back and see if God is actually protecting you from something, or trying to make things work out for your good in a different way, you know. So don't get upset or impatient with God, because He knows more than we do. But she didn't have any kids, and I think it was in preparation for Boaz, and I'll tell you why. One thing, kids make it harder to move. And if Ruth had kids, they may not have actually moved back to Judah because of the kids. I mean, it'd have been harder. Naomi probably would have been happier. They probably would have scraped by, but they probably would have been in a bad situation because they didn't really have, of course, they didn't have a man oversight, during that particular time. But they might have tried to scrape by because of having the kids. Also, kids limit the amount of choices that you have when you can do stuff. If you don't have kids, you can do more stuff. Like, even married, you have vacation, you have more money, and all this other stuff. And also, kids, the kids eat. And the final thing is, a lot of times men will not be with a woman with kids, because you just got way too much drama. You got a female with no kids. She can do whatever she want to do. Y'all can roll out. And then you take a female that's got one kid. That's two people right there. So now you can't go on vacation as often. You got to worry about the school year, child care, the father. A lot of things you may have to worry about when you get with somebody with a kid that you don't have to worry about when you have somebody who's unattached. So wait to have kids, till you're married. But if you don't, up to you. All right. Another interesting thing I think I found in the story is that Ruth knew and understood her place in society. She knew she was basically a foreigner. It sounds bad, but it's a good thing to recognize where you are in life. Bad choices will always limit or delay good choices. Ruth recognized she was a foreigner. She also probably learned how people treat other people, since Naomi was actually a foreigner in the country of Moab, which is where Ruth is from. So she probably saw how her people treated her. And she was probably thinking that, oh my God, I'm going to go in this other country with Naomi, and she could probably be basically treated the same way. But she was actually surprised that how the people treated her. But I think it was also because of how she came into the new community. She actually came there helping somebody from the community, helping Naomi. So they say, whoa, she may be a foreigner, but she actually is loving, showing love to us. You know what I'm saying? To people she didn't even know. And so that gained their respect. But she had a real situation where there was racism or religious bias potentially. But she had that fear, but she still went and followed Naomi anyway, regardless of that, But it was a blessing to her. Ruth, because of her sacrifice, actually received favor and respect from the community, even in this situation. In fact, her love for Naomi actually preceded her when she went out to work and go, work and find food. So God went before her in this situation. Ruth also had a good name in the community, and they remembered her when she came back. So that was important as well. That was part of them needing each other when they did this move. Ruth submitted to the God of Ruth submitted to the God of Naomi. She was willing to serve and take care of Naomi and the household. She went to work. She also provided for the home, even in the absence of a man. You know what I mean? So she was handling business. She didn't have to have a man there to take care of it. She needed somebody, but she didn't have to have a man to direct her or whatever. She was a responsible woman. She was like, you know what? I need to go find some food. I need to go cook. I need to go do this. I need to do this. She took care of her household, which was awesome. That shows a whole lot of maturity. Another thing is Ruth was humble, and she was not afraid to ask for help. She went out to these fields, take it that it was actually Boaz's field, that she went to. But she actually went there, and she didn't just take what she wanted. She said, hey, is it okay if I come and pick up the scraps from this field? And they were like, oh, yeah, okay, sure. So after some time, basically, let's see here, lots of place. Ruth actually respected Boaz. You know, if he had a request, she actually did it. She respected his time. You know, not only, I think, because, you know, she was working in his field, but also because Naomi actually told her to. One interesting thing I saw in this story is that Ruth chose Boaz. Now, Naomi told her to, but in this story, Ruth actually chose Boaz. I would even go as much to say that Ruth actually proposed to Boaz in the Bible. That's the first time I seen it. That's how I interpret it, is that she actually proposed to Boaz. Now, Boaz had to go do his thing to make sure he was in the right. But she proposed to him. She chose him, which is something you don't hear a lot, especially in today's thing today. But that was interesting. But Boaz, once he took care of his business, made sure the next of kin was okay with it, he still had to accept her proposal. And he did, you know. So biblically, it seems like women can actually propose to men, I would say. You know what I mean? Don't believe me? Go read the story yourself. Tell me, let me know what you think. Another thing I thought was kind of interesting is that Ruth was willing to learn from Naomi. She was humble toward her. And she also was willing to let Naomi protect her, or tell her how to be protected. And not only from Naomi, but also from Boaz. Boaz respected Ruth for taking care of Naomi. And also I think he saw that she was a hard worker. Basically, Naomi's days, her latter days, were way more blessed than her former days, because she was able to have a grandkid. She was back with her family, and she was just blessed. And the two things I took away from this is from the viewpoint of Boaz and the viewpoints of Ruth. And it's basically, as an older man, Boaz married a younger, attractive woman who was a hard worker and cared about the people she loved. As a foreigner, Ruth was able to marry an older, righteous, and successful man that witnessed her and cherished her as a woman that was able to bear his kids, you know. But the marriage of Boaz and Ruth was a win for both of them at a time when they were low on hope, but still trusting in God. That is it. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.